Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Cape Conversations. I'm so glad you're with us because we're far, far, far away from Sandwich. We are in the wilds of Falmouth, Massachusetts. That's right. And we are at the Atria Woodbriar, and we are going to talk to some really, really interesting people about a wonderful art show. So come along and join me for another Cape Conversation. Hi, everybody. I'm very excited to be here today with a terrific guy, Jim Hurley. How are you, Jim?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited because you're going to tell us all about Cape Cod Can.
Right.
And so tell me about Cape Cod
Okay.
Can.
Well,
What is it?
First of all, the name is really Cape Cod Collaborative Arts Network. So we shortened that to Cape Cod Can. And we're a group that was formed approximately 2 years ago when we first started thinking about this. But our mission is to provide opportunities for people with disabilities on the Cape to actively participate in the literary, performance, and visual arts.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, we started approximately 2 years ago, about a year in planning. Our first activity was a show we did at Cotuit Center for the Arts last January.
And it sold out.
It sold out.
And I couldn't get a ticket.
You came too late.
I
we had
know.
2 performances.
You snooze, you lose, people.
Broadway and Beyond. It was a musical review.
Right.
We had 8 different organizations, 90 participants in the show itself, mostly with people with disabilities. And it was just a wonderful success. We had, as you said, we sold out. We had shows planned for Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. They sold out. So we opened our one and only dress rehearsal on Friday night for the audience at half price, and that sold out as well.
Oh, that's great.
But even more exciting was the reviews we got afterwards. People were just thrilled. In fact, we were thrilled. We didn't know exactly what to expect. The way this all went about was we had these 8 different groups, and they all chose different plays or different Broadway shows, and then they worked on them for a period, and then we brought them together into our unified performance.
Well, I guess my question is, where did the groups come from? Are there 8 separate groups around Cape Cod? There are that many?
We have more than that now. We have 12 or 13 in our art show, which we'll tell you more about later. We have Capabilities, Life, Planet Network. In fact, if you don't mind, I'd just like to mention them. In
Absolutely.
fact, I'll mention the 12.
And you know what? It's always easier to look than not to look.
I can't remember them all, so I'll do that. The Brain Injury Association of Massachusetts, Capabilities, both their Hyannis and Eastham facility.
Not Mashpee?
No, not Capabilities. We have Life in
Life in
is
Mashpee,
both.
that's right.
Cape Organization for the Rights of the Disabled, that's CORD. Community Support Associates, CSA, Esprit Players, Independence Farm, Life. They do have a facility both in Hyannis and Mashpee, and they're both involved.
Oh, wonderful.
Palliman House, Planet Network, Riverview School, and Habilitation Assistance Corporation are the ones that are currently have been involved in either our performances or our art shows. We're now in planning for next year's performance, and we have 2 additional groups as well. So we're trying to expand all over the Cape, so we're really excited about that. Yep.
Now, you also took it from Cotuit Center, then you went to Sandwich, correct?
We did the show that we had performed in January. We went to Sandwich in June for one night. We called it Broadway and Beyond Revisited. Same show. We did a combination of video and live performance. We had about 35 of our 90 performers there. And it was a combination of the video that we had taken in our original show plus that. And we had a good crowd there, too. It was a really nice thing.
Excellent. That's great. And tell me a little bit how this all got started. Now, I know you have some personal connection, but also it was kind of a happenstance as well.
My interest is I have a grandson, Rowan, who was injured when he was 6 months old, and really a life-changing injury for he and his family. And But Rowan has always loved music and has just a wonderful, indomitable spirit, and really, influences us all, I guess, continuously.
Sure, of course he does.
So when I retired...
That's what grandkids do.
That, absolutely. Well, I've got 7 of them, so he's only one of the ones. But
you beat me by one. I've got 6. So.
But so when I retired, I wanted something to do, and I, other than play lousy golf, as I said, I got a little old. And so I was looking for something to do, and I went to a Brain Injury Association meeting, a small meeting in Cotuit Center for the Arts. They have once a month. And I was thinking of doing some outreach, and I mentioned that I had both business and theater experience, and so I don't mind talking to people and so forth. And the fellow sitting next to me, who was a brain injury survivor, as they called themselves, a young man, said he had been in a theater performance at the community college a few years before, and it had really helped his memory and his self-esteem and his speech and all of that. And we were sitting in the Katuitt Center of the Arts building talking about the impact of arts on people with disability.
Right.
It was like the aha moment, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And from there, it kind of grew, and we started talking to people, various groups around the state and around the nation, actually, and then got folks together, a lot of meetings in homes and so forth, and it grew from there. And we thought the easiest thing to do would be something like a Broadway review, where we could give each of the groups who wanted to participate, you know, a piece of a show, let them decide on a show, and then they could work on it, and we bring it all together.
Wonderful.
It wasn't quite as easy as we thought.
Yeah. Now,
but anyway, it worked out.
What is your title with this group? I wanted to call you executive director, and you corrected me.
Well, I wanted to call myself Grand Poobah, but I ended up with managing director. I call myself founder and managing director.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we're kind of a virtual organization. We have a lot of volunteers. In fact, all volunteers. At
Right.
This point. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
That's excellent.
Yep.
That's excellent.
Right.
But you're also associated with, is it VSA?
Yep. When we formed, we were debating whether to become our own 501c3 charitable organization so that we could get tax-deductible donations and go for grants and things like that, which we obviously need to put on the things we're doing, do the things we're doing. And I went to something up in Boston. They said, well, if you're new, the best thing is to try and get somebody to be your fiscal sponsor. So we looked around on the Cape and ended up with VSA Massachusetts. And VSA is an international group formed by Jean Kennedy Smith, sister of JFK. I think it's in 40-some states and international now. And they call themselves the VSA Massachusetts, the State Organization for Arts and Disabilities. And they're doing wonderful things in schools and with shows for artists and things like that. So they have become our fiscal sponsor, which means that we act under them and they handle all our finances and things like that. But it provides us the ability to go out and take tax-deductible donations as well as go for grants and so forth like that, which we've had some very nice ones recently, actually.
Oh,
so.
that's great.
We just received a wonderful grant from the Art Foundation the other night. They had their ceremony, and we were among, I think, about 30 groups that
That's
got.
great.
So we were really
That's
thrilled
lovely.
with that. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we are actually sitting here in Falmouth,
Yeah.
of all places. You're
Yes.
from Sandwich.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
from Sandwich, and this is Sandwich Community Television. But we're here in the beautiful
Atria Woodbriar, yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Atria. That's how they
That's it,
pronounce it.
yeah.
Yeah. And tell me, how did this all happen?
Well, Joan Houlihan is a personal friend we've known for some time, and Joan is I think she's Vice President of Marketing here is her title, but she's the one who fills this place and is the brand new, and she had been in charge of their original facility here. And she's just been wonderful. She is on our advisory board as well. And when we started talking about having an art show, she says, "You'll have it at my place." And she was insistent, and weren't we lucky? You know,
Yeah,
they've just
that's
been wonderful
great.
to us. They've provided the facility. We had a wonderful opening 2 weeks ago, the 9th of November, and we had roughly 300 people in Atria
Holy
Woodbriar.
smokes, that's a lot for an art opening.
We were getting a little worried if we had too many at one time. They kind of came and went, but they provided all the refreshments as well. Atria Woodbriar did, so we're just very indebted to them.
That's
for really
wonderful.
great things they've done. for us.
That's
So, yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
And actually, we're going to do a show down here
You
and
are.
take the grand tour
Oh,
of the
you've
new
gotta
place,
see
I
it.
think.
It's
Yeah,
really wonderful.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's marvelous.
It is beautiful. It is,
Yep.
I think they ought to have places like that for people that are actually middle-aged and still working. So that way you can come and you don't have to worry about cooking,
There
you
you
have to
go.
worry about
There you
cleaning.
go.
It sounds pretty
and you
good.
get 2 drinks a night here.
You
part,
get 2
part of your,
cocktails a night?
That's what they tell me.
Oh my gosh. In that case, I might sign myself
That's
up
right.
early.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that's wonderful.
Yep.
So let's go back to how did you find the artists to help you put this all together?
Somebody had given me Tessa D'Agostino's name, and so I contacted her, and then
Yeah.
we sort of put our heads together, and then we actually advertised through Craigslist and a few other places around the Cape.
Wow.
And we got a variety of very talented artists responded, amazing. And we ended up selecting, Tessa actually taught 2 classes anyway herself.
Right. And she teaches to people with disabilities.
Yeah, she does. She works with, I think, people at Riverview School and Life. She's worked with Esprit and a few others.
That's
So she
wonderful.
certainly knows the community and knows the folks, as well as being a wonderful artist. So we selected from the people who sent in resumes and ended up with a total of 8, including Tessa. Really terrific folks. A lot of them had experience with people with disabilities. Some had not. But in general, it worked out wonderfully. And Tessa can tell you more about it, but we picked a common theme, art is my music, and each was able to interpret it the way they wanted to in their
Wonderful.
classes. So, and those classes started in September, went on for 8 weeks, and culminated in this exhibit here.
And where were the classes held?
10
various
different
locations?
locations around the Cape.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. You know, some of the facilities, capabilities in Hyannis, Life, and a few other places. You know, different
that's
places like that
wonderful.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really worked out great.
And when you came up with all of this,
Yeah.
and you started, how did you get everybody together? I mean, how, that's the
A lot of
hardest
footwork,
part.
a lot of phone calls, a lot of
A lot of
harassing.
people say, "Hey, kids, let's put on a show," and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do,
yeah.
But how did you get a?
I started calling, well, there's a couple of wonderful models, more than a couple, but there's some wonderful models around the country of groups like this. Now, there's a wonderful one in Great Barrington called CATA, which is Community Access to the Arts. Sandy Newman over there has been running that for 20 years, and
my
it's
gosh.
just wonderful art, theater, and so forth. And there's another one out in Minnesota where we were with my grandson, and that's Interact Theater out there, and that's marvelous, where they have art during the day, and they have performances. Really, I think they combine professional actors with people with disabilities,
Wow.
and put on performances that people really can't wait to see out there.
Oh,
So
that's
these are kind of
wonderful.
models that we've talked to those folks and kind of got some ideas from them and got to go.
So it sounds like you're so successful, and it's just got started.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
we're
getting
successful.
started.
We're sort of a grassroots type of organization now. We'd like to become really a sustaining organization, and that's what we're working towards, is how do we get the momentum and the resources to do
So
that.
if somebody wanted to contact you, either to
Yeah.
help in
Yeah,
some way,
absolutely.
or maybe some angel is out there somewhere and
hear
was,
from either of them, yeah.
and says, it's coming up to the end of the year, I'd like to give, a few dollars to
right,
something like this
right.
because it really does good. And this really is amazing what it does for these folks, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the impact that we've seen on just the people involved in our show. We had, for example, our Broadway and Beyond show, one of the leaders of one of the groups gave a little talk, which was very nice at the beginning of his group's thing, and said this is the first time that a number of these people have had the chance to star. And star they did. They were just wonderful. They
That's
just lit
great.
up, and
That's
you could
great.
really see it. And you
So-
can see it in the art that they
Oh,
do, too.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So tell me, okay, here I am, I'm that person.
Yep.
I've got a couple of bucks, it's the end of the year. How could I give?
If you go to our website, which is www.capecodcan.org, we have all the information there. You
Excellent.
can access us
One more
directly.
time?
www.capecodcan.org.
.org.
And there you can give through the website, or you can give directly to us, and all the information is there how to do
That's
that.
great.
And tells
And
you
if
how
I
to
wanted-
contact us.
Well, I was going to
Yeah.
say, if you wanted to
Yeah.
volunteer as well,
Absolutely.
and
We
help,
very
and maybe
much
you don't know
appreciate
anything about theater or art, but maybe you just want to come and help out during a performance or
We
do
would
something
love
like
to
that.
have more folks involved. We really
That's
want
great.
to. Our goal is really to expand across the whole Cape too, and to do that, we need a lot more people involved.
Sure,
too. Yeah,
sure.
so
That's excellent.
that's what we're
Well,
doing.
thank you so
Thank-
much. We're going to talk to the artist who helped
Absolutely.
organize everything,
She's
Tessa.
the brains behind it
And I'm
all,
not
so-
gonna
and the
call
talent.
Her name's Tessa, and I'm not going to call her Tess.
There you
I've
go.
already been told her name is Tessa, just like my daughter.
Great.
So,
Good.
Anyway,
Thank you
you,
so
sir.
much.
Good to
All
see
right.
you. Hi, everybody. I'm back again, and I am with the wonderful artist, Tessa D'Agostino, right?
Yep.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
D'Agostino.
D'Agostino.
Very
D'Agostino.
cool.
Yes, all right, all right. And her name is Tessa. And you're an artist.
I am an artist.
And where did you go to school?
I went to the Museum School of Fine Arts in Boston and
Uh-huh.
Tufts University.
Wow. And
Yeah.
and have you always been an artist? I mean, since you were a kid?
Yes.
Although you still are a kid, in my
Yeah.
opinion, but
Well, I think when you're an artist, you're always a kid. You have to have that
Playful.
explorative
Yeah.
side of you. But yeah, I was always interested in the arts. As
Mm-hmm.
a child, my dad used to draw for me, and it just kind of always was there. And then when I was about 16, I got really into it and decided to go to school eventually. And
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, where did you grow up? On the Cape or elsewhere?
yep, I grew up on the Cape in Centerville.
Oh, in
Yeah.
Centerville. I went to Barnesville High then.
Yeah.
They have a great art teacher there. I bet you he was there when you were there. I bet.
Yeah, they have a great art program, but
Yeah.
oddly enough, I didn't take any of the classes.
No. Oh,
I
no.
think I took half a semester senior year, and then I did the dual enrollment program with community college
Uh-huh.
and started majoring in art there.
Wow, that's amazing. So now tell me, what's your medium?
I do mostly found materials sculpture and assemblage, but I also do jewelry. I tend to refer to myself as a multimedia artist because I draw and I paint and, I mix
Right.
it all together.
Well, that's great. So when you say you were an assemblage, so you mean found?
Yeah, so
Explain.
I kind of, well, I work a lot with natural materials,
Okay. So
So
like if
I-
you walked out in the woods, you'd pick up leaves, sticks.
mostly sticks.
Okay.
I build figurative sculptures,
Oh, wow.
life-size figurative sculptures with sticks and using wire to assemble those.
Oh, neat. Are they
Wigwams.
ephemeral or do they?
No,
are they?
I mean, well, all the work is kind of ephemeral, and that's
Yeah.
a whole concept in itself.
Right, right.
Because as the pieces are exposed to different environments, the wood itself is expanding and contracting, and I do sometimes run into having to fix them to keep them alive,
Right,
so to
right,
speak,
right.
which is interesting when they're figurative pieces.
I've been in two places. One was in Santa Fe and one was in Palm Springs, California, and there were two. It happenstance. They were different years, but it was the same artist, and she did life-size horses out of sticks.
Oh, I think I've seen pictures of something like that.
It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, from far away, it looked like a black horse. From far away, it looked like a gray horse. And then when you got closer, you realized they were sticks.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's really interesting because the sticks themselves have this sort of
Character.
muscle tendon-like
Yeah.
form to them, or
Yeah.
bones.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I am building something that's figurative, it's kind of like I'm awakening it out of the forest, or it's
Yeah.
some sort of
Well, that's
real
that's
thing
neat.
happening.
That's
yeah.
really great. And where do you work out of?
A variety of different galleries.
Uh-huh.
I have a private studio at my house in Pocasset,
Uh-huh.
but I sell my work in different towns, different galleries. Studio Brush in Sandwich, the Black Crow in Mashpee Commons. I just moved to Mashpee Commons
Oh,
from
yeah.
Sandwich.
Yeah.
Beech Tree Gallery in Hyannis,
Yeah.
and some other places.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good for you. So, okay, so we're not just here to talk about your wonderful
Yes.
art. We're here to talk about what you did with these people with disabilities and how you brought out the best in them. So what happened? How did you get involved?
Well, I had a friend that was nice enough to pass along my name to Jim Hurley, who
Yeah.
had been beginning this project.
Right.
And he was looking for someone to kind of take the leadership role in the art department of helping find artists to teach these classes and to start this program. And I said, okay, I'm on board. I'll take the challenge.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you enlisted how many other artists to help you?
7 others. I also teach some of the classes myself.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's great.
so 8 teachers altogether,
Yeah.
12 programs, and I think it ended up being 10 different classes.
Wow.
And we ended up with 103 students.
Wow. And are they all represented here?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
Yes.
And you had different ages, different abilities, different everything.
Everything, all over the board. I think
Right.
there's so many varieties of art and art
Uh-huh.
form, and working with people of all different abilities and ages and skill levels, you end up with this sort of dynamic show. And the theme that we have, art is my music,
Right.
we left that open to interpretation, and doing that has allowed for the broad spectrum of work that you do
Sure.
see here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's and all the artwork. Well, not all of it, because I saw some said not for
Oh,
sale,
yes. Some
because they were
not for sale,
right,
right.
right. And but you have sold some pieces, right?
Yes, yep. I think we sold about 25 pieces.
Wow, that's
so
terrific.
It's pretty good, yeah.
And what about now? It opened November 9th, right? I believe. Is
yes,
that correct?
November 9th was the opening reception.
And it's closing this Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes.
the other 20.
The last visiting hours is really Friday.
I see.
Friday, 4 to
Excellent.
7. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Are you going to do this again with Jim?
Yeah, I hope to.
Yeah.
We've been talking about putting together a winter workshop series.
Mm-hmm.
We're also hoping to sell artwork in the shanties, the artist shanties in Hyannis Harbor.
Mhm.
We put an application in, or Jim did, and
Yeah.
hoping to allow different programs and students to be able to sell their work
Excellent.
again.
Yeah,
So,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. So, when you're working with these folks, what do you find? What is the most rewarding part of it for you?
For me, it's always about providing that outlet for self-expression
Mm-hmm.
and seeing these people learn more about themselves than they knew before.
Mm-hmm.
Just diving into the artistic process and
Mhm.
sharing their interests, and then being able to share the visual art with others, their peers,
Mhm.
their family,
Mhm.
friends, and in this case, the public. And
Right.
it's just always so rewarding to see them able to express themselves and share those points of view.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So, when you're working with them, do you find? I mean, obviously, the average Joe Schmo, right, will see somebody with a disability and kind of see the shell. They just see what's on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you found that's really kind of amazing to you, that's so one of the things that might be surprising that you find when you start doing this, that there's just so much more there?
Yeah,
Or
well, and there's always a story.
Yeah,
There's always
yeah.
a deep story, or just so much time that's already gone into that person in the
Mhm.
sense of how they've gotten to the point to create the art.
Mhm.
I had a student that had a sketchbook full of colored drawings, all to do with Disney's Fantasia. I mean, there must have been 30 different drawings.
Wow.
And, I never would have known that he had such a passion for that particular
Right.
movie, but it
Right.
tied in perfect to this theme, art is my music.
Right.
And so just, for example, to learn that sort of thing and to see that devotion that individual has, and to then work with them and help them put it into a form where they can share it,
Mhm.
that's always really just amazing to
Well,
me.
it's gratifying too,
Yeah.
right? Very
Yeah.
gratifying, for
And
sure.
that's part of my own mission with teaching,
Uh-huh.
is always teaching people self-reflection through the art
Mhm.
process.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how long have you been teaching?
That's probably about 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
When
you
I-
only look like you're 15. You're
Well,
kidding
thank
me.
you. Well, I'm
7
not afraid
years.
to say it, but I'm 29.
Oh, my goodness.
No, but
29.
yeah, I've been teaching pretty much since I got out of
Oh, to be
college,
29.
when I graduated in '07.
Yeah.
While I was there, I did a lot of independent research and studies
Mhm.
on the therapeutic and psychological benefits of the art process.
Mhm.
And I started developing my own theory and my own teaching approach to work with people of all abilities.
It's funny because I've been reading a lot about veterans coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and one of the things that I've been reading about is PTSD, and how art and music and theater help them so greatly when they can get into a program, or a community has a program for them. So I suppose it's about the same thing. Once you've had a head injury, or you do have a disability, the accomplishment of being able to do this is probably so huge
It is.
for self-esteem purposes.
Definitely,
It's
definitely. And the process itself is very reflective,
Mhm.
and it really can allow you to experience a meditative state of
Mhm.
mind if you really just jump into the process.
Mhm.
So, just being able to express yourself, I think,
Mhm.
is healthy. And I think it's
Excellent.
healthy for everyone.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I walked through here, and Cynthia Goldberg, who's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the artists.
Yep.
Well, Cynthia, when I worked I was the executive director of the American Heart Association for Cape Cod and the Islands, and she was the person who did our Go Red for Women. You've got to have heart on Cape Cod, and she did a heart. And it was so beautiful, and we used it for our cards and everything. She's
Yeah,
just
she shared that with me, actually.
she's very
been-
proud of that fact.
Yes.
And she
yeah.
did
And she's
such a
just had a
lovely
book
job.
published,
She just
too.
had- I know.
And, yeah, I've been working with her, too.
Yeah, so
She's great.
yeah, she is. She's really great.
And she sold her work here.
And she sold her work, and she has she does things at Katuitt Center for the Arts as well,
Yes,
which is great
yes.
too. So, anyway, I just want to thank you, Tessa, for sharing your time and doing all this. I mean, just as a layperson who's just coming in and talking to you, but walking down through here and looking at this artwork, it is truly amazing, and what you've done is really terrific, and you and Jim both should be applauded for that.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's
and
really
thanks for coming.
terrific.
It's just been a great pleasure to work with all these people. And
Oh, that's great.
To,
I look
have
forward
the
to it. And I've got
opportunity.
an idea for you. I think you
Oh.
ought to do something in the summer on the lawn in Sandwich, or do something at Heritage. We need to figure this out. We need to get, Heritage has a great big stage too. You could do theater on their stage there too for something like this. Would be very cool. So
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
always
good
thinking,
idea.
I have too many ideas. My husband tells me to, cool it a little bit, but there's just all kinds of possibilities here, and I can see
Yeah,
them.
we're always open to them.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Wow, wasn't Jim Hurley terrific? You know, the organization he is running is helping so many people and bringing out the best in everybody around them and in all of us by showing us this wonderful artwork and doing those great performances. And Tessa D'Agostino, oh my gosh, what a great artist. And she's local. Just think, a young woman, 29 years old, helping people with disabilities bring out their inner child, their inner self, and having them become more and more creative. I just think this is just wonderful. So anyway, I just want to thank you for coming along with me today to the wilds of Falmouth for another Cape Conversation.